Kharg Island, Iran. 25 kilometers northwest of Bushehr, 4:20 in the morning. 88 U.S. Army Rangers from the 75th Ranger Regiment and 24 U.S. Navy SEALs from Naval Special Warfare Development Group were closing on Kharg Island's main oil export terminal from the South Shore. Across the island, 336 Iranian forces defended 12 loading berths, 8 transfer manifolds, 3 power yards, and the bunker that controlled nearly 90% of Iran's crude exports. The joint force had 3 hours to shut the island down. Kharg Island mattered because every tanker line, pump station, and control room on the island fed Iran's oil cash flow. The terminal was protected by radar, cameras, mine belts, concrete fighting pits, 4 Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft guns, 6 DSHK heavy machine gun nests, and bunker crews armed with AK-74 rifles, PKM machine guns, and RPG-7 launchers. The Iranian forces commander believed the island location made it nearly impossible to attack before reinforcements could cross from the mainland. The assault plan was simple and hard. Alpha Element had 34 U.S. Army Rangers and 6 SEALs. They would hit the South Gate and the berth control block. Bravo Element had 26 Rangers and 8 SEALs. They would clear the western tank farm and the pump lanes. Charlie Element had 20 Rangers and 8 SEALs. They would breach the command bunker and cut terminal control. Delta Element had 8 Rangers and 2 SEALs. They would hold the beach, guide airstrikes, and block any breakout. At 4:31, the attack started. 2 BGM-109 Tomahawk missiles slammed into the island radar mast and the north power switchyard. The screens went dark. 4 MH-60 helicopters flared over the south ridge. 6 combatant craft assault boats hit the beach at the same time. Alpha rushed the gate with M4A1 SOP Mod 2 rifles and a Carl Gustav M3. Bravo crossed the pipe trench and cut through the western fence with det cord. Charlie landed behind the bunker berm. Delta set 2 M240B machine guns over the shoreline and marked targets for aircraft. Iranian forces fired blind for 40 seconds. The first south guard tower fell. The first pump house was taken. At 4:33, Alpha met its first hard stop. A steel vehicle barrier blocked the service road. A Ranger fired an AT-4 into the hinge post. The barrier dropped flat. Alpha pushed through and caught 18 Iranian forces running from a barracks row. 9 fell in the open. The other 9 dived behind sandbags and fired AK-74 bursts toward the road. A Mk-48 Mod 0 team answered with short belts. 2 grenades followed. The sandbag line went quiet. On the west side, Bravo took RPG-7 fire from a pipe rack. 1 rocket hit the ground short. A SEAL with a Mk-18 CQBR climbed the ladder, shot the gunner, and kicked the launcher down. Bravo then cleared 3 pump stations, room by room, with flashbangs and M4A1 fire. At 4:35, Iranian forces understood this was not a raid on one pier. It was a full seizure. The bunker commander tried to split 64 defenders toward the south gate and 48 toward the tank farm, but the phone lines were dead and the backup radios were jammed. Charlie used that gap. A shaped charge blew the bunker side door inward. 2 Rangers went left. 2 SEALs went right. The first corridor was 18 meters long. 3 Iranian forces fired from the far end with PKM machine guns. Charlie dropped to the floor, sent 2 grenades down the hall, and rushed the smoke. The machine guns stopped. In the control room, 7 operators reached for emergency shutoff panels. Charlie pinned them back, cut the power relay wall with C4, and pulled the terminal server stacks intact. At 4:37, the fight spread across the whole island. Delta saw 3 fast patrol boats leaving the North Jetty with 21 Iranian forces on board. A U.S. Navy helicopter rolled in low and fired 4 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles. 2 boats burned at the pier. The third spun out and ran aground near the seawall. On the ground, Bravo moved deeper into the tank farm. Iranian forces had built firing slits between storage pipes. That slowed the advance for 2 minutes. A Ranger team brought up an M2 Browning on a tripod, fired 32 rounds into the slit line, and broke the defense. Bravo crossed the lane and seized the manifold yard. They found 14 engineers trying to vent fuel pressure for a controlled shutdown. The U.S. Army Rangers stopped them, cuffed them, and kept the pumps trapped under load. At 4:39, Alpha reached berth control. This was the key node for loading tankers. 26 Iranian forces defended it with PKM guns on the roof and 2 RPG-7 teams at the stairwell. Alpha split. One squad pinned the roof with MK-48 Mod 0 fire. Another squad climbed from the rear maintenance stairs. A breacher placed a linear charge across the locked top door and fired it. The door burst open. Alpha went through in 6 seconds. The roof fight ended fast. Inside the control block, a Ranger smashed the emergency radio rack with a sledge and thermite. Another team locked out the loading arms. That stopped all outbound pumping. By the 20-minute mark, 7 of the 12 berths were fully in U.S. control. At 4:41, the Iranian forces launched their last organized counterattack. 92 defenders came out of the central barracks and the east vehicle shed in 3 groups. They tried to retake the berth road and reopen the bunker. The first group ran into Alpha's roadblock and lost 17 men in less than a minute. The second group tried the pipe lanes against Bravo. A Carl Gustaf M3 round hit the lead truck and blocked the lane with fire. The third group moved on Charlie's bunker entrance. Charlie fell back 12 meters, let the attackers bunch up in the stairwell, and dropped 2 flashbangs and 1 fragmentation grenade. The stairwell filled with smoke and bodies. At 4:43, 2 U.S. Navy jets dropped 2 GBU-31 JDAMs on the East Fuel Truck Park and the reserve radio site. The blast ended any chance of a coordinated recovery. By the 55-minute mark, the objective was seized. Charlie held the bunker, the command servers, and the export control boards. Alpha held 9 berths and the South Road. Bravo held the Western Tank Farm, 8 manifolds, and 3 compressor sheds. Delta still owned the shoreline. The Joint Force then prepared the island for a long shutdown. Thermite charges went on to 14 pump motors, 8 valve banks, and 6 loading arm actuators. C4 went on the bunker relay room, the pier control cabinets, and the backup generator hall. The demolition plan was not to level the island. It was to kill the export system. At 5:18, Iranian reinforcements finally appeared from the mainland. 4 helicopters and 11 fast boats moved toward Kharg Island, but they were late. U.S. Navy fighters drove the helicopters off with AIM-120 AMRAAM shots and AIM-9X Sidewinder locks. The boats turned back after warning fire hit the water ahead of them. At 5:24, the order went out. The thermite ignited. The motors melted. The relay room collapsed. The generator hall burned. Fire rolled through the loading circuits and pump lanes. At 5:41, the last U.S. troops lifted off and cleared the island. Behind them, the terminal still burned. The final count was exact. U.S. forces lost 3 killed and 11 wounded. Iranian forces lost 97 killed, 54 wounded, and 41 captured. The Joint Force destroyed 14 pump motors, 8 manifold valves, 6 loading arm systems, 3 compressor sheds, 2 radar sites, 1 bunker relay room, 1 generator hall, 3 patrol boats, and 9 military vehicles. Direct equipment and facility damage reached $1.26 billion. The export shutdown that followed wiped out another $4 billion in oil revenue over 48 hours. Iran believed Kharg Island was too far offshore, too well armed, and too valuable to fall in a single dawn assault. What actually happened was an 81-minute joint strike that cut the heart out of the terminal before Iranian forces could put together a defense. Iranian forces had radar, bunkers, mine belts, and gun pits. What they did not have was 112 U.S. Special Operations troops willing to take an island before dawn.